Good evening.
Good evening.
Now we have a prayer led by Councilwoman Carolyn Lewis.
Our Father and our God, we come to you this afternoon, asking that you be in the midst of our meeting, asking that you give us the right minds, give us the right path, and get it in the right direction as we leave this city. Touch each one of us as we work together to do things accordingly to your will. This is my prayer. Amen. Pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have on the agenda we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to approve, but we are only approving one the regular meeting and 2 budget meetings. First, now May 1st, 1st, the 3rd, and the 21st. May I get a motion?
For the minutes?
Yeah. Let's do one at a time.
Oh, okay. I make the motion that we approve the minutes for our meeting of May 1st, 3rd, 15th, and 20th.
No, we are only doing the 1st, the 3rd, and the 21st.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of our meeting of May 1st, 2018.
I'll second.
All in favor of receiving the minutes May 1st, let me know and sign aye.
Aye.
Ladies have the same rights. Okay, now for May 3rd.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of our meeting of May 3rd, 2018.
Second.
It's been properly moved to second. I'm all in favor, let me know and sign aye.
Aye.
Ladies have the same rights. Now May 21st.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of our meeting of May 21st, 2018.
Second.
It's properly moved to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ladies have the same right. Thank you so much. Now the approval of the meeting agenda itself.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the meeting agenda for Tuesday, June 5, 2018.
I second.
Okay, it's been properly moved to second. They received meeting agenda. All approve it, but let me know and sign aye.
Aye.
Ladies have the same right. Thank you. Now we have our reports of our standing committees. Ms. Lisa Rock, DDRA.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. On Thursday, June 14th, next week, the DDRA will continue its Bringing Downtown Alive free concert series at Liberty Lane and Pearl Street. The Bout Time Band Darlington will perform with the Darlington Kiwanis Club staffing the event. Pepsi of Florence and Wilson Senior Care have already committed to assisting with this project. Papa John's Pizza will be on site selling pizza by the slice, alongside Kona Ice selling snow cones, and CNC Ribs and Barbecue selling ribs, barbecue, and he told me he was bringing steaks next time.
All right now.
So, and the ribs were really delicious. So
Can't start the day.
it's June 14th, Thursday. Dustin James and Hank Edwards will be playing on July 12th. Community karaoke party will be held with S&T Entertainment on August 9th. And Radio Vibe will play our final concert on Friday, August 31st during race week. The concert committee is in the process of securing additional sponsors and vendors. So if you know anybody that's interested in being a vendor or being a sponsor, have them, or just helping organize the events, can contact my office. The DDRA is also inviting businesses to network and learn about the DDRA's programs and get feedback on future projects at our monthly members breakfast. Some of the council members here have attended, and I thank you for that. The next members breakfast is at 8 a.m. Wednesday, June 27th at Taki's Diner. Breakfast is provided for member businesses at no charge, or a donation of $5 for non-members. These meetings will continue monthly through October on the last Wednesday of the month, and bring a business card for a chance to win a pair of tickets to the Southern 500 race. Also, the DDRA still has funds available for our Improvement Incentive Program. The 50/50 matching grants of up to $1,000 can go towards facade improvements such as a fresh coat of paint or repairs to the front entrance or adding a new awning or new signage. The grant application is available on the city website at buildupdarlington.org or from my office. The board has approved $5,000 for the calendar year 2018. And since we've begun the program, there have been more than $10,000 in facelifts completed downtown. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one. Just out of curiosity on the Downtown Alive. Is there any reason we do it on a Thursday versus a Friday?
Last year we tried a Saturday and a Friday, and kind of mixed results. Saturday, a lot of people are out of town, and of course in Florence, what I found looking at the Facebook for downtown Florence and Facebook for the Hartsville Main Street and their events, a lot of the folks from Darlington were in Florence on Fridays. So when we had an event, they weren't here; they were in Florence instead.
So if we do it on
So we were doing it on Thursday to avoid Florence because they have first Friday, final Friday, and third Friday. So that only leaves us one Friday of the month that isn't taken by an event. So we decided to try Thursday this year, and of course, next year we might try something different. And of course, during race week, because the car haulers parade is, NASCAR kind of tells us when the car haulers parade is going to be, and it's going to be on Thursday night, so we are going to be on Friday night. So give the folks who are coming in from out of town something to do more than one night. They'll be able to do the car haulers parade Thursday night, come downtown again for the concert on that Friday, and then Saturday's the 200 race, and Sunday is the 500.
So Florence has something going every
They have
three Fridays of the month.
Yeah, at least 3 Fridays a month. So
Thank
we
you.
were trying to avoid some conflict.
Any more questions from Ms. Ross? Thank you.
Thank you.
Who was here to rip? Okay, come on. Okay, come on up. Okay, I thought, okay. I thought you, okay.
Elizabeth.
Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Carrie Hall, she's not here. Okay.
Hey, I'm Liz. I'm from the chamber, and I'm speaking for Harriet tonight. On Thursday, May 10th, 2018, the Greater Darlington Chamber of Commerce sponsored the first open house Darlington. In our opinion, this event was a huge success. For several weeks leading up to this event, the town was abuzz with people pruning and painting and cutting the grass. Everybody looked the citizens of our wonderful town were taking just a little more pride in their places of business and their homes. On the day of the event, Darlington sparkled. We had newspaper people on the streets, radio and television people here trying to get an interview, and it was wonderful. We also had people from out of state come to our town to look at properties, and yes, we did have one property sell. All in all, it was a huge success. The planning stages for Freedom Fest are almost over and the time is almost here. The stage is ordered, the band is booked, the rides are ordered, and the vendors are ready. We will have a new event on the main stage this year. Pucker Butt Pepper Sauce will be doing a run the gauntlet for the not faint of heart or stomach. This contest is where you take shots of the mildest pepper hot sauce until you get to the hottest, the Carolina Reaper sauce. If there is more than just one person standing at the end, we will start the gauntlet all over again, until there's just one person standing. There will be milk and saltines for the contestants to help calm their palates. Mark June 30th at 5 on your calendars, and we will see everyone at the Darlington Raceway for Freedom Fest. And we also have a lot more events coming up within the next few months, and we're in the planning stage. That's all. Thanks.
Number 6, citizens wishing to speak before council, 5 minutes per person. No personal tax. This should be about something about the city. Okay, first we have Mr. Boyd Jackson. First we have all cell phones off on vibrate. Ms. Reed. She reaching for a pocketbook. Okay, Mr. Boyd Jackson, green waste pickup.
Yes. Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Question. I was over at the water board and I asked them how come they didn't pick up my leaves and branches. And she said, because I don't have a water meter on that property. So I said to, nice lady, no qualms about how she explained things to me, that's why I'm here tonight. So I said to her, well, if I'm paying taxes on that lot, why can't they pick up the debris? She said, well, that's how they have it. You have to go down there and ask, maybe you go down and talk to the council and maybe they might be able to explain it to you. And so here I am.
Well, let me ask you a question. The lot next to your house,
Negative. The lot on Railroad Avenue.
on Railroad Avenue, okay.
Yes.
I know
Well, what we usually do, if you pay the water bill, we pick up, but not just for paying taxes, right, Mr. Collins?
Correct, it's a sanitation fee that's
Sanitation.
assessed, you'd have to pay a sanitation fee there, that includes yard debris, recycling, and regular garbage.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that because I don't have a meter on there and don't pay sanitation, that you're not gonna pick that up?
No, sir, I said if you won't, you have to pay the sanitation fee to get the yard debris picked up, yes, sir.
Okay, and what do I pay school taxes if I never had any kids in school in this place?
All I can do is tell you the ordinance, which says if you want to have your yard debris picked up, you have to pay sanitation.
That's
I
the best
can't answer a question about
Yeah,
school
but
fees.
I'm trying to be real here with you, you understand what I'm saying? But,
I'm just
you know,
giving you the law,
No,
sir.
oh, the law.
Correct, the code, the ordinance.
That's the code of ordinance.
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
But I would
So,
suggest to you,
well,
since
we'll
you
find out
pay,
what you need to do to change it, yeah.
nobody can talk from the audience.
Oh, I'm
okay?
sorry.
What you can do is this, bring it to your house on Pine Street.
Okay,
And if you were to pay the sanitation fee, I'm sure that we could pick it up from there and forward. And
When he pays sanitation fee from Pine Street.
yeah, but I don't know if you could take it from property, from one property to another. But the
Yeah.
sanitation fee's only a few dollars, isn't it? Like $6.
$23 a month.
$23 a month.
so let me ask you a question.
But see-
How you guys, what's the incentive for a person to keep their lot clean?
That's a good question. Mr. Garland?
That depends on what's on the code and what's enforced on the code.
So, what about considering the fact that he is paying sanitation fee at one property, that would, kind of be inclusive of another piece
Y'all
that's
want to change
anything
it
else?
so it reads different, we'll be glad to include that, but we have.
You see what I'm
Something like
saying, to
this,
help
that
out.
you
You said
can't
you already paid.
make one allowance, then you have to make all allowances. Y'all want to change that, that's fine, but y'all need to change the ordinance.
We'll talk about it.
Well, we're talking, that's a consideration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Howard Gowan, Bobby Ross.
Mayor and council and public, we had a passing of Darlingtonian recently. His name is Bobby Ross. He's a friend to many. If you didn't know him, he loved Darlington. He wanted what was best for Darlington. He's, for over 20 years, has espoused something called the Darlington Central Park South Trail, which would be a walking and hiking and biking trail which would encompass the entire city of Darlington. Since Mr. Ross has passed now, I just don't want folks to forget his dream of bringing our town together through a walking, hiking, and biking trail. And I would hope that mayor and council, whether it's this mayor and council or future mayor and council, would name part or all of that trail for Mr. Ross. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Gowan. Unfinished business, the second reading of the ordinance 2018-09-2018-2019 budget approval. May I get a motion for that?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Any questions?
I'll second it.
Huh?
Brian did.
Brian did. I
Brian said.
think
Oh,
Brian
I'm
did.
sorry.
Any
I'll
questions?
speak up.
All in favor of, is receiving the motion, the second reading of the ordinance 2018, 2009, 2018, 2019 budget approval, let them sign aye.
Aye.
Ladies have the same rights. And we
Madam-
approve the motion carried.
Madam Mayor, since we have the issue of millage that's before us this evening, we need to have, I think we mentioned this earlier, to have a special meeting if there's any millage increase approved, and we have to have a public hearing for that and the budget. And we need to schedule it either June 21st or June 28th, depending on what y'all do this evening with millage. So just because you've approved this tonight doesn't mean that we're done with it. We also have the health insurance issue, which hasn't been settled yet. We don't have the final vote for that, so we'll have to amend anything that was approved this evening. So we would need to have, if there's a millage rate increase, we need to have a public meeting or a public hearing on that, and then we have to have a regular meeting to approve that.
June 21st on what?
That's a Thursday or June 28th, yes, ma'am. We have to have at least 15 days before any millage increase for chance for the public to weigh in on that.
Okay, y'all heard Mr. Garland. Okay, B, second reading of the ordinance 2018-10, business license collection. I got a motion on that.
I make a motion for the second reading of that business license collection ordinance, 2018-10.
Second that.
Any questions? It's been properly moved and seconded that we receive the second reading of the ordinance 2018-10, that's business license collection. All in favor? They're gonna sign aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right. Okay, motion carried. Hold on a minute. Number C. Second reading of order 2018-11, tax anticipation notice. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll make a motion on second reading ordinance 2018-11, tax anticipation notice.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any questions? All in favor of receiving the second reading of orders 2018-11, tax anticipation notice, let it be the sign aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same rights.
Ma'am, everyone has to sign this.
Okay.
Just decide. You ready to be the decider on this?
Give us a minute. Okay, we're going to new business while they're signing, the National Garden Week proclamation. Whereas gardeners help nurture Darlington's natural beauty and resources by planting seeds and caring for plants, and whereas garden can be a source of beauty, fragrance, and a food through the cultivation of flowers, herbs, and vegetables, and whereas gardening can be a rewarding activity for people of all ages and levels of experience, and whereas gardening helps promote a healthy lifestyle and reduce stress while serving as a tangible reminder of the rewards of hard work. Now therefore, I, Gloria C. Hines, Mayor of the City of Darlington, do hereby proclaim June 3rd through the 9th, 2018 as Garden Week throughout the City of Darlington, and encourage all citizens to recognize our gardeners for their contributions that positively impact our communities and the quality of life for our residents.
Is anyone here from the Garden Club this evening to accept that?
Ms. Betham's here.
What you do for us.
I'm in love with the garden club because they make our city look beautiful. And they're hard workers. Hard workers.
On their own.
That's right. Trying to beautify Darlington. Oh, okay. Keep the good work up. Thank you. I know you got some more buddies, but they're not here. I guess it's the next one on Mr. Garland gave me the key. Mr. Howard Nettles has been a resident of Darlington for over 30 years. I was told he's been married just that long. But I don't know whether I've been knowing him for 30 years, but I've been knowing him for quite a while. And I know that he's a hard worker. And is donating money to the city of Darlington from Genesis, where he is the community director of community outreach and recruiting for Genesis Healthcare, who shares and thoroughly supports his passion of helping others. And before he was that, I knew Howard way back. And I've known him to always had a beautiful yard, always doing his work and helping people. So Howard, I'm not going to read all this because people know you, what you do. And the donations that you give, you know, you don't only help get us monies, you come in and you do the work yourself. You bring in crews to help us with cleanup. And come on down.
All right.
I do want to tell you this, that he was instrumental in procuring the means to fund our new welcome sign on 52.
All right now.
Now the lights are not there yet, but when Duke Energy comes in, you will see when you come in the doctor, it says what? Welcome home. So if you come through, you at home. So that's a beautiful thing. And when we had clean up Darlington, he brought in a big crew with him. So he's just not helping with funding, he's helping bring in money for us. Now with this key to the city, now since we're giving you this $1 million key, now, we want you to continue helping with us. Now, I'm going to take it out the thing tonight. I'm not going to leave it in there. You can put it back in there when you finish. But we want you to continue helping with your good heart.
Thank you.
What you do for us. I'm getting it. City of Darlington, South Carolina, the key to the big city of Darlington, the pearl of the PD. Anybody that's sitting here tonight, anytime you see the signage around saying clean up Darlington, this is your home too. Come out and clean up. Now when my mother was living, and I had a neighbor that was on Chestnut Street, when I would come home sometime, she would be in my yard cleaning up, Miss Charlie Williams. And people would ask her, why you cleaning up Gloria yard?
Remember St. James United Methodist?
And my mother, she cleaned up across the street. It wasn't only her yard. And I do the same thing now. If there's paper across the street from my house, I go pick it up.
Amen.
I didn't put it there, but I go pick it up. It's not gonna hurt you to pick it up. If you love Darlington, you would do anything you can to help Darlington prosper.
All right.
One person can't do it. It takes a community, all of us together, to help promote Darlington if you love it. And thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
What's next, Mr. Gall?
PD Regional Transportation Authority, Mr. Chuck McNeil.
Mr. Chuck? Come on down.
All right. He's getting ready to have Saturday.
Well, we can talk about it. Maybe. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I want to hand out something that I'll review quickly with each of you. I would you be so kind.
You have one for media. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I had a color version too for the meeting. I can give you mine when I'm leaving. It's a black and white. You know? Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to come before you. And let me start off by also congratulating Mr. Nettles. I got the pleasure of getting to meet him a year and a half or two ago in his capacity at Genesis, and he's my contact there in terms of supporting what PDRTA does in the community. And as you all know, We couldn't be able to serve the community to the level that we do without the help of not only the city, but great organizations like Genesis Healthcare and the PD Health Clinic here in Darlington. So what you have before you, I'll just walk through quickly, but this is a recap. First off, most of the slides are from a survey we do once a year on all the bus routes throughout the PD that we operate. This particular summary is pie charts of specifically the survey answers from the people that ride the DART bus here in Darlington. So the first slide, as you can see, is reasons for travel, and you can see from the percentages of the answers that a good part of the community, the largest percentages of people that are either using the bus to go to work or they're going to shop. And those two are two significant activities in any community, particularly as they are here in Darlington. The other reasons being school, medical appointments, or the smallest portion, which is personal travel. The second chart is how many trips. These were simple questions we asked. They didn't have to sign the survey unless they chose to. We were simply trying to get a profile of the rider. And again, this is specific to the folks that ride the DART bus. How many trips per month do you take? As you can see, the larger portions on the left of the pie chart, about a quarter of the people ride every single day, or 20 or more times a month. And if you add the purple with the green, you have about a third that are riding pretty frequently, if not every day throughout. So you have regular riders that use the service virtually on a daily basis or close to it. The next page was how many times per day do you take the bus? And this really surprised me because about 1 in 4 took it 4 or more times a day. Several of those people you met last month when they appeared before you and spoke to you, and as you recall, made a plea for service on Saturday because they're isolated and stranded, and clearly this is another indication that the public bus is their only way to get around, whether it's to Walmart or the PD clinic or downtown or whatever. That's their means to get from their residence to the other destinations around the city. And they're taking advantage of it. The next slide is what age. Basically get a profile of the age. And about 2/3 of the people, not surprisingly, are either seniors, and that was the largest, over 53% of the respondents were elderly, or youth. So 2/3 of the people using the bus are either very young or predominantly rather old. Do you have access to a car is the 5th page, and that is not shocking at all. That virtually everybody does not have access to a car that uses or needs the service to get around. It's their mobility in this community. And then finally, how do you rate the service? That pie chart indicates that if you notice there were 4 answers from very satisfied to very dissatisfied. All the answers were either very or satisfied. So the people who appreciate the service and they think that it is good service. And then the last page is what I'll summarize in a moment, and it's basically our annual budget recap and what we try to do to put the different piggy banks together to make it all work. But before I cover that, I'll briefly say that we've had a good year on the DART service, one of the better years. The ridership data I have in preparing for this evening was through April. In another day or two, we'll have it through May, but I'd rather give you the factual data that I do have. And through April 30th, we have provided on the DART bus alone from July 1, which is our fiscal year as well, 6,227 trips. In a comparison of April of this year to April in 2017, last year in April we had 500 trips in that month. This year we had 728. So the ridership in the year-to-date is up 7.5%. And we are now, well, at least in the month of April, there's about 35 trips a day that we're taking folks around Darlington. So clearly it is beneficial because, as you saw from some of the earlier slides, those folks are either going to earn money or to spend money. So it is economic development in addition to quality of life and other significant impacts. The funding page is basically how we pull it down, and those of you that have been on the council for a while should be a little familiar with it. Quite simply, it shows what the total cost for us to provide the DART bus and the commuter bus that we run 3 times a day between Darlington and the Tech campus. And that is approximately $250,000. You see $259,000 in the middle. And as you can see in the basic resources to provide that total, most of it is federal funds. And that's how PDRTA and all public transit works in the country. We can leverage federal grant dollars by trying to secure as much non-federal money that we possibly can. Basically, for every non-federal dollar that we're able to secure, we can triple that with the amount of federal dollars that we can access. So it's really a significant incentive for us to try to get local investment and support in what we do, because it's a very small percentage of what we actually need to cover the cost of providing the service. And that number in my roughly 7 years doing this has hardly gone up at all. It's been pretty stable throughout my 7 years anyway, in the cost of us providing that service over that period of time every year. As you can see, the request that we made for the city this year is the same as it's been in each of the past few years, and that is the $25,202 amount in the middle. The other partnerships are folks like Genesis that make up the balance of that. And again, that total of local funds, it's not what we're requesting from the city, but that total that we're trying to assemble by different contributions is $39,202. And that's roughly 15% of what we need to provide the service. So it is a significant number, but it's a very, very small number relative to the cost of what we need to do throughout the entire year. So I would ask for the council to consider that. I know that you have other issues that you have to take into mind when you do consider any funding request each year. With regard to the Saturday service, drilling down some of these numbers, and I'll try to simplify it as best I can, in terms of what we would need from and there's the air quotes, local level to provide the service. It's not the true cost, but for each hour, I did the calculations earlier today just to make sure, it's about $700 that could provide an hour of service a week the entire year in local money. So in the scenario of 4 hours of service, if the council were to consider that by providing public bus service in the community, just like we do all week, but for 4 hours on a Saturday to give those people that rely on the service an opportunity to get out, get some groceries, or get to wherever they need to go, that amount of time for the 52 weeks would be about $2,800. 700 times 4 times the 52 weeks. So that's not precise, but I'm very comfortable in suggesting that as the approximate local cost that we could need if you wanted to consider adding that level of service to the community. So with that, I'll close, and I appreciate the opportunity, as I always do, to come before you, and for all that you do for the great city of Darlington. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. You were saying that we need about $2,800 to have the 4 hours for
On Saturday, every Saturday for the 52 weeks. I mean, the 28 is not the total cost, but that's what we would need to access federal funds to make it all work.
And that's extra for the whole year?
Yes,
the whole
yes,
year
sir.
for Saturday, the whole year?
For Saturday, yeah. Above and beyond what we do Monday through Friday, which was the first part of my presentation.
You say the partnership that you have provide with Genesis and any other partnerships provide you with only $14,000 a year?
Yes, yeah. And that, in addition to Genesis, and Genesis is also part of this next piece of information, whatever advertising we can sell on the exterior of the buses, that can contribute to, again, the air quotes, the local revenue we need. The one thing, the folks typically assume that the money we collect in the fare box from the riders can qualify as that local match, but according to federal regulations, we cannot use it. We can simply lower the net cost by subtracting what we collect in the fare box. But advertising revenue and contributions from private and public entities, all of that is qualifying for us to account for our local investment in the service in order to continue to access the federal grant dollars.
McLeod gives you money?
They do only for specifically a free downtown shuttle we operate in Florence, and McLeod doesn't directly give us that money. We have to get a grant from a subsidiary of them that's called Access to the PE to try to offset the expense of emergency room costs and whatnot. But that's the only funding from McLeod we get. We don't get anything from Wilson McLeod.
Is it anywhere used for Darlington? Is it used for Darlington?
Those funds were given up to us specifically for that shuttle service we run in Florence.
But you
line.
do go out, the bus does go to McLeod, doesn't it? Wilson McLeod?
We do certain times of the day, yes, ma'am. We do, but we don't get any funding from McLeod Wilson to support that.
What about any of the drugstores? What about Walgreens, Carolina, or CVS? Do you have a lot,
No,
take a
ma'am.
lot of there?
No, I haven't tried all of those. I have tried some pharmacies, and I haven't had any success yet. I mean, I'll keep
Food
trying.
Lion, Walmart, I know Walmart should give something.
They have not. I've spoken to the manager there, and he supports the service. He allowed us to put the very nice bus shelter there. We haven't gotten
Walmart
any.
in Darlington, the man is not there anymore.
Oh, is it? Well, maybe I can try the new
You try the
person.
new one.
Yeah,
try
I
the new
will.
one, Okay. Okay.
That's a great excuse to go and knock on their door again. I certainly will do
An
that.
IGA, yeah.
We've tried. We've talked to the Bilo, the Food Lions. I mean, you know, there are certain doors we haven't avoided, but we haven't been able to go everywhere. But we have been asking whenever there's an opportunity to speak to private businesses about the importance, because we convince them to the point that you would think that they would help us, that a lot of their clients access their services or goods on PDRTA buses.
Well, if they gave you $500 a year from all of them, that would help a lot, wouldn't it?
That would help. Yep, many hands make light work, as the saying goes. Absolutely, it would help.
Any other question? We'll discuss it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's always
Thank
good
you.
to come before you. I appreciate the good work you do for the city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's Anthony Mudrow, Darlington Memorial Cemetery.
Good evening. This evening I come before the City Council with a concern about the Darlington Memorial Cemetery, also known as the Darlington Community Cemetery or the Darlington City Cemetery, a historical African American cemetery located on Avenue D and Friendship Street in Darlington. This cemetery has been in Darlington since 1890, and at the time it was the only African American cemetery within the city limits of Darlington. And on March 17, 2014, this cemetery was added to the National Register of Historical Places with a marker place in the cemetery, including Macedonia Baptist, Bethel AME, and St. James Methodist Church's Cemetery. A committee was formed to upkeep the cemetery, but at this time, most of the members of this committee have died or are sick. And at this time, the cemetery has grown out of control. And I have taken several pictures that I can leave with council to look at. My concern is that if there are any funds to upkeep the cemetery, there are two large trees that have fallen, need to be cut and removed. Grave markers need to be cleaned and the grass needs to be cut. Even though there are several family members that have gone down there and have been cutting the cemetery, but with it being over 9 acres of property, that's a lot of property to keep up. We know this cannot be done overnight, and it will probably have to be done in phases. I have received a bid from one company to remove one of the two trees and waiting on another bid. I have talked with several persons in the Darlington area that are also concerned about this cemetery and want to know if there are any grants that the city has that we can apply for to help with this project. We are still contacting churches and family members to help with this project. Whatever this council or anything that y'all can do to help with this, we would be most appreciative.
Have you talked with the other Walsall family yet?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
They and there are other persons that were on that original committee. There are some funds there, but the money that is there would not even touch the surface or do anything towards that cemetery.
Have you discussed with anybody about writing a grant for it?
No, because I said I would come to city council first to see if there was any grants that we could go through the city. And I also was going, after going back and talking to some of the members of the committee to see if we could go through the National Register to see if there was anything that we could apply for. But since this is in Darlington, that's why we want to start here first.
Ms. Rock, do you know any grants that they can apply for?
Have you talked to the Historic Preservation Office in Columbia yet?
No, I haven't.
That might be a good place to start. Do you have any idea what kind of money you need
Well,
to do the upkeep or to do one phase of it yet?
Well, one of the bids that we have gotten for those two large trees that are down is $5,000. But that's just to take those two trees down, but there are all other trees down. But like I said, I have these pictures here. Grass in certain parts of that cemetery is up to your knees, might as well say. It has really grown up. Tombstones and everything are down. We really just need to just clean up and start fresh and new.
Mr. Brock, I'll be glad to give you that information so you can call and see what you can do about it, get some grants.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
anybody else? Wait, hold on, hold on. Anybody else? Anybody else got anything to say?
Ms. Muldrow, I'm familiar with where the cemetery is and its historical significance, but who is the owner of the cemetery?
The first church that I think bought the cemetery was Macedonia. And that was back in 1890. I think they bought like 5 acres. And then gradually, I think Bethel AME bought like 4 or 5 acres. And then St. James bought some. But then the rest of the property, I don't know exactly who all the other part of the acres out there.
So there are different local churches.
Yeah.
It used to be a time that the churches would take up money.
Yeah, and some of them still are doing it, but it
taking up
is
money.
just got to the
Nobody
point
do
now
work yet.
that they're still giving, but it's not helping at all. And with the growth of that cemetery, it's gonna take a lot. I've talked to some other people that have worked on cemeteries and some of the things that they have done in other areas, having groups to come in to help clean the cemetery, their cemeteries, but
Some cemeteries operate with the premises that as people are buried there and charges are made, so much of that money is set aside in perpetuity
Right.
for continued maintenance. Has anybody looked at developing among the church organizations, has anybody looked at
I
developing?
don't know, but I will check and see. And let y'all know. But right now, I don't think so. I think the one is that for the opening and closing of the cemetery. It's just that.
If you are able to secure a grant, who would be what's the name of what's the committee? Is the 3 churches the one that would be?
We really haven't gone to that extent yet, but working with the churches and other family members that have families buried there at the cemetery, you have to come up with a name because, as saying, I would want to be the holder of the money. I want to set up something, or maybe set up something at a bank where the money could go directly there, do a website, and do a link where people can pay, online or whatever. Because just saying somebody just having the money, that's not
Exactly. Well, that's
Mhm.
that's probably.
And I know we got to send letters out to family members and different things because there's a lot of history down in that cemetery. There's a lot of history.
So, Mr. Garland, don't we give a donation or something every year to that cemetery?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I would do it.
$200.
Okay.
Council members do have money that's available to them to give. So council members want to give some of their community promotion money to that cemetery, you certainly can do that. Madam Mayor, Council, 11 years ago, the city worked with that committee that Ms. Mulder is talking about. We got a grant, a study was done. There was a cleanup effort that was done. One thing that was suggested by that study was that since the cemetery is half in the city and half in the county, that if we wanted to look at helping the entire cemetery, we would annex in the whole thing. Because if you go down to the cemetery, you see the city limit signs right in the middle of the cemetery. And there's a plan, it probably needs to be looked at again, but some of the same issues that were in 2007 are there in 2018. And I think Ms. Capers, Ms. Wausau Capers has that study. We would certainly be willing to help from a grant writing standpoint to submit anything to South Carolina Department of Archives and History to help with that.
Let me ask you a question. I think the Walsall, they have some money in the bank, right?
Yeah.
So if they don't relinquish that, we can still go with this, or what, they have to relinquish that, or what, you don't know?
I believe that group set up a nonprofit, in 2007 to do a lot of this work. And the apparatus is there, you just gotta go and find the paperwork and probably need to update the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and then get it registered in the state of South Carolina to make sure it's a registered nonprofit, and then go after whatever they do. There's some paperwork that needs to be done first.
But I want everybody to know that they're not slack on what they're doing. What happened, the people that was doing the work died. Especially 2 main people that were keeping the cemetery up, they died. And Miss Capers, I guess she's older now, and her brother was helping with a whole lot of financing and doing the work, and Johnny, he passed, and then her husband passed. So now I guess she's just at a standstill. I guess we have to get with her and then come back to us, and we'll help you as much as we can. Thank you so much. Okay. Number E, the first reading of the ordinance, 2018-12, millage rate.
Mayor and council, you asked us to put together a 3-year look back at the city of Darlington millage rate, which is allowed by state law. So you should have, I sent this by email yesterday, you should have in front of you there, 2015 consumer price index was 1.62%. In 2016-17, it was 0.12%. 2017-18, it was 1.26%. In 2018-19, the CPI this year is 2.13%. The council does have, according to state law, the ability to go back and look back those 3 years plus this year. If you multiply all those CPI increases by our millage, which is 125, and you come up with a different rate for each year. So for 2015-16, you could raise 2.025 mils, which would bring you $35,336 based on a mill in the city of Darlington being worth $17,450. And you see each year that's just listed there, it gives you a different rate of what you can add. Everything all together, if you include the 3-year look back in this year's CPI increase, will give you 6.4125 mils, and you multiply that by $17,450, so you have the maximum capability of raising the millage, $111,898. It's also in state law that if you want to do just 1 year look back or 2 year look back, you can do that, but the maximum you can do is to go back to 2015-16. So we've given you that information now. I guess it's up to you as to what you want to do.
We'll need how many readings, Mr. Garland?
We would need to have this first one this evening, but the second one we'd have to have at least 15 days from today's date, because we have to advertise it in the media. We have to have a public hearing on the increase. Again, our millage right now is 125 mils, and a mill is worth $17,450. If you go by our current collections, it brings in approximately $2,172,705.
I believe you previously advised us that the last millage increase was 10 years ago.
2008 was our last millage increase, yes, sir. We raised from 121 to 125. And our millage rate has increased. It was worth $14,000 the last time we seriously looked at that. We've had a reassessment of all the properties in the city of Darlington by the county. As a matter of fact, our tax collection rate already is over what we projected to collect. So we are growing, and there is some good news there.
And currently we have in our reserve fund $4,445.46 to meet any unknown emergencies.
That's correct, and that money could be transferred from the lost or from the general fund account to put money back in there, yes, sir. But we're still waiting for that $440,000 to come in from FEMA and Hurricane Matthew. That's what we talked about in one of our 5 budget work sessions.
And you said you're going to reserve fund?
If you want to do on the reserve fund, we can do that, yes.
Let's do this.
Ms. Reed?
I will make a motion. We got to have several readings on it at public hearings, so I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion that we approve the 3-year look back millage rate that you've talked about.
And I second.
Any questions? It's been properly moved and seconded that we do the 3-year look back for the first reading of the orders 2018-12, the millage rate. All in favor? You know what I'm saying? Aye.
Aye.
Ladies have the same right. Motion carries.
Ma'am, could we go ahead and have a motion on the floor too tonight to, that money from the millage increase will go to our reserve fund?
Yes. You wanna make that motion? Let the money go to the, reserve fund?
So moved.
You got to state it.
Second.
I left the money from, say it again.
Money from the
Millage
the
increase.
administrators, it goes to the reserve fund, they have to, you know, we put in the special place.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that the money from the village fund goes into the reserve fund.
And
Second.
it's probably moving second, that the money from the millage rate go to the reserve fund. Is there any questions? All in favor, let me know sign aye. Nays have the same right, motion carries.
Madam Mayor, that means we'll need to meet June the 28th, since we have to wait 15 days for this. So we have a public hearing at 6 and a meeting at 6:30 to approve this.
When's that?
June 28th.
That would be Thursday, June 28th.
28th,
Thursday, June 28th.
6 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am.
Public hearing first and then
Then after the public hearing, we would approve this simply.
approve it. Okay, first reading on the order 2018-13, annexation of 224 Blue Street. That's a double wide trailer down there on Blue Street. Their well went bad, and they wanted to get water from the county, but I think the connect fee was $1,200. So the city was cheaper, so they decided to go to the city. Let's take a motion to approve him.
We can take it.
It's a mobile home. It's a mobile, is it a mobile home?
I'm not sure, Ms. Rock, do you know what it is?
No, there's a house. This is not the
This
mobile
is the house.
home,
This
this
is
is
the
next
mobile
to the
home.
mobile home.
Okay, next, okay.
I'll motion that we approve first reading ordinance 2018-13 annexation 224 Blue Street.
Second.
It's been properly motion and second that we receive the first reading of orders 2018-13, annexation of 224 Blue Street. Any questions? All in favor of, first reading of the orders, let them sign aye. Nays have the same right. So after you do the annexation, you have to do the zoning for it. So we got to do zoning for that same property. First reading of ordinance 2018-14, zoning of 224 Blue Street into R6 residential. Can I get a motion for that?
What's the zoning around it, Lisa?
There are three different zoning districts in that area. General commercial is kind of on one side, behind it is R6, and across the street where the high school is R10. Based on the definition of what those zoning districts are, is how the planning commission recommended that council zone it R6, high density residential. The R6 district is intended to accommodate higher density residential development in a variety of housing types on smaller lots that were in project settings in areas accessible by major streets and in proximity to commercial uses and employment opportunities. Given the commercial nature of Main Street and really portions of Blue Street itself, the planning commission felt that R6 would be the best choice given what exists, especially if this gentleman's well went bad and he needed to connect to water. The neighboring properties may be in the same situation in sometime in the near future too, if they're the same age.
Okay. Can I get a motion? Are we ready?
I'll motion that we approve first reading ordinance 2018-14 zoning 224 Blue Street R6.
Second. Okay, more questions? It's been properly moved that we receive the first reading of orders 2018-14, this is the zoning of 224 Blue Street, R6. All in favor, let it know sign aye. Aye. Nays have the same rights. Okay, H, first reading of the order 2018-15, water sewer rate increase.
I make a motion that we set the first reading ordinance 2018-15 water sewer rate increase.
Second.
Mr. Goff, where's the information going on with this so we can? Did everybody read that?
That's blue sugar.
It's fine.
Right here.
3% rate increase inside city limits and 5% rate increase outside.
Let's vote.
Estimated revenue will increase to 58,000.
So, just to give the public an idea, current rate's $9 for water inside the city, $9 for sewer. The 3% rate increase will take that to $9.27 for water and $9.27 for sewer.
We need it.
Everybody understand that?
Yes. It's a need.
It's a what?
I said, it's a need.
Did somebody second it?
Yeah.
Okay, so go back and state it again from this.
Well, we already seconded.
No, second, okay.
You may go back and.
We already had a little discussion. All in favor of, first reading of order 2018-15, the water sewer rate increase? Let it be on sign aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right. Motion carries. Okay. Aye. Police Department promotions. Chief Kevin Waddington.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council, members of the community, and I promise to be with you all as briefly as possible. On June 26th, we will be doing a series of promotions within the police department. We're actually restructuring and reorganizing the police department to bring better accountability. Mr. Garland has worked very closely with me. There will not be any increase to the budget, and we'll be able to accommodate and take care of this, again, without any increase to the budget. Again, the main reason for the restructure and reorganization is to promote accountability within the office, and also to spread some of the duties out to make sure that they are being done equitably, equally. So with that being said, that's all I have to say about that, but I do also want to go ahead and get that resolution approved that we tabled at our last council meeting. If you all recall, we wanted, myself and the city attorney wanted to determine whether or not we would be able to pass the mutual aid agreement with a resolution instead of an ordinance, because as you all are aware, if we did an ordinance, it would take 3 readings. We called the municipal association the very next day, and they told us that we would be able to do it with a resolution.
All right. So we want to do a mutual agreement with the resolution rather than the ordinance, so we can, 2 readings or just one?
No, it's a resolution.
Just one.
Yes, we
Okay.
can just, and basically what this is, as I explained at the last meeting, the state has required all the municipalities and counties to enter into formal written agreements in order to share workforces and in order to assist each other. So we need to have these things put in place. For the municipalities, it requires the chief of police to sign and the city manager and or mayor, but we have to get city council to approve it. Now, the way that we've written this resolution, you all would be able to give Mr. Garland the authority to go ahead and enter into these mutual aid agreements on behalf of the city. The sheriff's office, because the sheriff is an elected official, does not have to have the county administrator to sign off on his mutual aid agreements. But the way that they got it set up for the cities, the police chief has to get the city manager or city administrator to sign off on it.
So said that a resolution approving the mutual judicial agreement entered into by the Darlington Police Department with surrounding law enforcement agencies and authorizing the city manager to approve and sign materially equivalent agreement entered into by the police department in the future. That's what you want to do?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that this resolution allowing and approving the multi-jurisdictional agreements be passed by council.
I second.
Any more discussion? It's been properly motion and second that we receive the resolution approving the mutual agreement between the surrounding counties. All in favor? Let me know, sign aye. Aye. Please have the same right.
One additional item, Madam Mayor. The last week, the police department's employees participated in courtroom security training. I know that you all have seen the magnetometer, the walk-through metal detector out in front of the council chambers for the last month or so. We were waiting to receive training. I have a friend of mine, a former co-worker with the U.S. Marshal Service, to come in and conduct training last week. We will begin utilizing the magnetometer next week for court, which, you know, we all are aware that we had court every Wednesday afternoon, but we'll also be utilizing it for council meetings as well. And I thought it would be appropriate to at least make council aware of that one meeting in advance, so we will be able to notify our citizens. So when they come to council meeting at the next council meeting, they won't be surprised. We will also be providing security at all of the council meetings as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and last thing, I promise y'all this is the last thing. All right, I do want to thank the members of council who were able to come and attend the firearms training seminar, simulator training that we did a couple of weeks ago. Because of scheduling conflicts, a couple of you all were not able to make it. I think Councilman Seegers and I spoke. He participated in the training, I think, with the Municipal Association Conference. I thought that it was an excellent training for our officers, but I also thought it was good training for members of council and members of the community to come out to get a general idea of what police officers go through on a day-to-day basis, the limited amount of time that they have to make split-second decisions. Many of those decisions are shoot, don't shoot situations. And the gentleman, Mr. Todd Williams from the Municipal Association, did a marvelous job with the officers. He was able to talk them through some of the mistakes that they made. He asked them about, the reasons why they made certain decisions during those shoot, don't shoot scenarios. And I think all in all, it was a very positive thing, not only for the department, but I think for the city and for the community as well. Because we had several members of the community to come out and participate in that training. And I can assure all of you, they've got a different outlook on what we do in those scenarios. So I did want to mention that to you all, and thank you all as well for that.
It was nice, but it was, when the man was trying to take the baby and the lady went in the car, and I felt threatened that he was gonna hurt her, but she went in the car and got a gun and didn't know at the time, but she put the baby in front of her. And I just said, well, you can't shoot the lady, you might shoot the baby. But I shot the man, and then the lady went on the shot and killed him. I tased him, I didn't shoot him, I tased him. And so she shot the man and killed him.
Well, Mayor,
And I could have prevented that if I had just, I thought about the baby, that kind of stopped me.
Well, Mayor, if it makes you feel any better, I've been doing this almost 30 years, and I failed that one too. So, because I couldn't shoot that lady on that baby eye.
Yeah, she killed me too.
She killed me as well.
She shot me. But the thing about it,
When a baby, somebody got a baby in their arm and you don't know who to shoot. That was, I think that one got everybody.
Not me, because I didn't have that one.
You didn't have that one?
No, I had the other one with the guy at the schoolhouse.
Let's go to schoolhouse.
When
I did pretty
I
good
shot
on that.
him.
I did pretty well. What I came away from is that it made me see what profiling and what the police have to deal with, because the one thing that I came out of that with is that I was focusing on the male. It did not matter. I don't care what that lady did or what the fact that she had, I still looked to him as the aggressor.
That's right.
And that was what I'm saying, that I thought that the training was, it just,
Good.
it really had an impact on me to look at things in a different way.
But
That was
plan
the
to-
big thing.
We plan to make it, at a minimum, an annual training. If the municipal association will have time, it can come, we'll try to do it semi-annually. And
Thank
we'll
you
be
so much for
inviting
that.
you all and members of the public as well to come out and take a look at it. I think it was a very good thing. And again, I thank you all for your continued support of the police department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief. Boards, commission appointments, Ms. Ross.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. It's coming to the end of the fiscal year, so that a lot of folks' terms are ending. And in your packets, you see all the open seats. Several folks have said they are willing to be reappointed and continue to serve. Some folks are not. And I also had two new individuals who would like to join one of the boards. And I believe we have to take these individually, individual motions. So the first person is Mr. Keith Taylor. He is serving on the Historic Landmarks Commission. And he was previously the music minister at Trinity United Methodist Church. He lives in a historic home. And he does attend the meetings regularly. And he would like to be reappointed to that board.
Which one now?
The Historic Landmarks Commission, Mr. Keith Taylor.
Okay.
So
I think we have to take them all individually, that's why I was.
I make a motion that we accept Mr. Keith Taylor and Ms. Catherine Howe
No, you can't do one at a time. That's what
to be reappointed to the board that they're serving on.
Executive second.
I second.
Any more discussion? All in favor to receiving Mr. Keith Taylor to the Historic Landmark Commission, lift your sign aye. Nays have the same right. Now we'll go to Ms. Catherine.
Ms. Catherine Al, she is finishing out someone else's term, and that's why her name is coming up so quickly. She has gone to the state conference. She was one of the 5 people on the commission that attended. We have a very active commission right now, and they're active. They want to learn and do more. So I certainly think she should be a good addition, to stay on board.
Can I get a motion to reappoint Ms. Catherine Howe?
I'll motion that we reappoint Ms. Catherine Al.
I said,
Second.
It's been properly moved and second, to receive Ms. Catherine Howe. All in favor, let me know and sign aye. Nays have the same right. Motion
All right.
carried.
Mr. George Chase submitted his application to serve on the Historic Commission. He lives on West Broad Street in a historic home. He is a retired general contractor, and so his knowledge of building in that sense, I think, would be very valuable to the commission. And he has attended several of the meetings just out of general interest.
George, who now?
Mr. George Chase. He's actually here today.
Yeah, which one? Let me see.
I would make a motion that he do.
I would second it.
That's for the same, board.
That is, yep, same board, Historic Landmark Commission.
I mean, the glasses on. I didn't see it. Okay, Mr. George Chase. All in favor of receiving Mr. George Chase, reappoint him for the Historic Landmark Commission, living on the side aye. Nays have the same right.
All right, thank you. And one last application, a new new person who would like to join the Historic Landmark Commission is Ms. Rose Pruitt, who also lives on West Broad Street. She has a lifelong interest in restoration. She's some sort of environmental scientist. Not exactly sure the details of that, but
That's what it done is.
yes, that's what the W is. Actually, it is.
I know.
So, but she's asked and is
He
willing to
reappointed
serve.
Historical Landmark.
I would float a motion that we accept.
I'll second that.
Hold a second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to receive Ms. Rose Pruitt as reappoint her to the Historic Landmark Commission. All in favor, give it a sign aye. Nays have the same right, motion carried.
Thank you, Mayor. That leaves one alternate seat open on that board. There is one seat available on the beautification board. And then the planning commission, several folks are rolling off and there's an open alternate seat. Ms. Joan Alston wishes to be reappointed to this board. She is a retired social worker she's from here originally, moved to New York and then came back.
I make a motion that Ms. Joan Austin be reappointed to the board, to the planning commission board.
I will second that.
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded that we receive Ms. Joan Austin on the planning commission. All in favor, let them sign aye. Aye. Nays have the same right. Motion carried.
All right, Ms. Weta Page is also on the planning commission. She is, the last year has been serving as chair of the commission, and would like to be reappointed as well.
I motion that we reappoint Ms. Rita Page
I'll
to the
second.
planning commission.
I'll second that.
Okay, probably motion to receive Ms. Rita Page on the planning commission, reappointed. All in favor, let them sign aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right.
All right, that leaves us with one seat and one alternate seat available on the planning commission. This year, it's sort of imperative that we do complete that commission membership because we are going to start working on the comprehensive plan. So be thinking about folks that might be of value to that project. And the last appointment is the Board of Zoning Appeals. This is a critical board to have full because if we don't have enough people show up for a quorum, it causes some issues with variance requests. We have two seats that are open, and Mr. William Jackson, who has previously served on the Board of Zoning Appeals, would like to be reappointed.
I'll motion that we reappoint William Jackson for Board of Zoning Appeals.
Second. It's been probably moved and seconded that we receive Mr. William Jackson to be reappointed for the zoning board of zoning appeal. All in favor? Give it some aye. Aye. Nays have the same right.
Thank you, Mayor. If anybody has any suggestions or folks that are interested in serving on a board, they can certainly call my office and I can tell them what they would be doing or how often they would meet. More detail.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 9, receives information, Department no action is needed. Council comments. Being adjourned, may I get a motion to adjourn? Oh, no, let me read the reminder. Saturday, June 30th, 2018, Freedom Fest, Dalton Raceway, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Wednesday, July 4th, 2018, 4th of July holiday, all city offices closed. Tuesday, July 10th, 2018, 6:30 p.m., regular monthly meeting, Dalton City Council. I think we have a public hearing. Now we can get this adjourned.
I would like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Can I get a second?
I second that.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.